In today's video, we're gonna take my Mini Cooper from sounding like this to sounding like this. Now in today's video, we are gonna show you the step-by-step process on how to install this exhaust on my Mini Cooper Clubman. I have the F54 and it's the all-wheel drive version. If you don't have this exact model, that's okay because the process is pretty much the same across the board for all the F-Series Minis. So the first part of the process is to get the car off the ground. We're gonna be using a lift today. You do not need a lift. You could use something like race ramps or jack and jack stands, but for video purposes, it makes it easier for you to see. So let's get the car lifted off the ground. The next step of the process is we need to mark a location where we're going to cut the factory exhaust. The nice thing about BMWs and Minis alike is they mark it with a little dimple, so you know exactly where to cut it and you don't have any issues. Per DINAN's instructions, we're going to go 2 3/4 inches back from the rearmost dimple. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, and take a measuring tape at 2 3/4 inches. I'm gonna mark right here. Another thing I like to do is take the measuring tape down and always measure twice just to make sure I'm spot on. Don't want any mistakes when I cut this exhaust. We're 2 3/4 inches. I'm just gonna make this line go all the way around so that I have a nice reference point. Now before we can actually go and cut the exhaust, we're gonna lower it just a little bit to give us some more room. So we're gonna take a 13mm on these exhaust hangers here, break them loose, and you don't have to lower them all the way. And for this third exhaust hanger, we're gonna actually fully remove it. So we have an exhaust hanger puller tool. I'm gonna put this on right here and pop it through. And for all the parts and tools in this video, they'll be linked in the description. Okay, just like that. The next step of the process is to cut where we marked earlier, and we're gonna use something like a pipe cutting tool. You could use a Sawzall with a nice metal cutting blade, whatever suits your preference. This is about 15 bucks on Amazon, so it's pretty easy. However, they are pretty much only a one-time use. Just be aware of that, they get dull pretty quick. So I'm gonna loop this around. I'm gonna find the tightest option. I'm gonna make sure I'm lined up here. I want my cut to be as straight as possible. And then I'm going to add a little pressure. You don't have to go crazy and just rock it back and forth, adding a little bit more pressure as you go until it cuts through. Now, if it begins to get loose on you, you can always go to the next tightest option. Make sure you're still lined up and then continue adding pressure. And that's pretty much how easy it is. And as you can see, other than one little burr, that's a pretty good cut right there. So we'll take a file afterwards and we'll go back and clean that up. All right, at this point, it is time to remove this cross brace right here. As you can see, it's held in by 2 18mm. I do recommend an impact for this to remove them. And then you can just let this brace hang right where it's at, and that'll give us the room to get the OEM exhaust out. All right, now all we need to do is take our 13mm again. We're gonna take these exhaust hanger nuts all the way off. There's one, and make sure you support the exhaust so it doesn't fall on you. All right, and then we'll navigate this down and slide it all the way out, just like that. Now that the OEM exhaust is down, it is time to work on the valve controller on the new exhaust. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take this piece that looks like this, and you're gonna place it on just like this, and over the top of that, you're gonna take this piece, and it's gonna go on like this, and through that, there's a single bolt by itself. It's the only one of its kind and length. Then we're gonna take this little clip here, we're gonna place the hook side up, and we're gonna place it into that groove just like that. Then you can take your valve actuator and the metal plate. They fit together like a puzzle piece, and they're gonna get placed right on top like this. And you wanna make sure that this metal piece with the groove goes into that spring, and that'll hold that in place. One of the last 3 bolts with the locking washer, pop that through and put a nut on the bottom. Now the bottom nut is a 10mm and the top is a 5mm Allen. Next, we're gonna transfer over the exhaust hangers. So we're gonna take our exhaust hanger removal tool, just like earlier. I'll wiggle these off. And then I like to do one at a time. Transfer it directly over so I know exactly where it goes. Okay, I'm gonna take this one. And we'll transfer this one over, just like that. Then you're gonna take the center pipe and an exhaust coupler that looks like this. You can put that on the OEM pipe. We're gonna go right through the center here between that brace. And then we're gonna take the larger side of this pipe and it is going to go over our existing OEM pipe like that until it lines up with our factory exhaust hanger point. Then you're gonna take your larger exhaust coupler, place that on this end here. Then make sure you have those 13 mils in hand. We're gonna grab our muffler section here. Now this is definitely easier as a 2-person job. I'm gonna try and do it by myself. So once you get the muffler up, you can slide the coupler on part way. And then we're gonna take a 13 mil. We're gonna hand thread it on our exhaust hanger. There we go. We'll do the other one. Okay. So now that we have everything up and in place, we have the exhaust hangers tightened up. The reason why we left these couplers all loose was so we could kind of position everything, get it where we want it. And now we're gonna tighten these down all the way. Now we can take the last 2 exhaust couplers, place them on our tips, and then we can feed them on here. Now we're gonna get this all positioned and tightened up, but for all of these exhaust couplers and what we just tightened before, they are a 15 millimeter. All right, so now I have the tips lightly tightened in place, and I'm going to lower the car so I can see a little better positioning, and then I'm gonna tighten them all the way down. So now we have the tips installed and we've tightened them down all the way. The last part of the process is to install the wiring that controls the valve actuator. So if you come over here, I'm gonna show you right where we have to feed this wiring. So I'm gonna pull back my fender liner. As you can see, there's a little grommet right here. So first we'll remove this grommet from its location. Then we're gonna take the wire that has the plug for the valve actuator, which will go right here. We're gonna take this end, follow it all the way to the other side. And when you see these wires, we're gonna feed these up through that location where the grommet was. So I'm gonna start by feeding this up into the rear of the car through that grommet, and then I'll show you what to do next. That light is what we're tapping. All right, so once you've got it open to this stage, if you pull up on this sound deadener right here, you'll see your wire that came through. So now that we've pulled our cable through and we have removed this rear panel here, we have access to this, which plugs into that rear light here. There's also one on this side. So you have 2 options, but today for easy access, we're gonna tap this one, and that's where we're gonna get our power to our actuator. So I'm gonna take the box end and plug it into the cable that we have routed down below. I have some Velcro, which I'm going to use to attach it here. And then I'm gonna tap the power side into this cable here, which goes into the light. I'm gonna plug in this side and take the white one. I'm gonna take this side. Separate the ground. Okay. Now we need to secure the ground wire. So right here, if you look to the left, you can take this off with a 10 millimeter. And then you can place the ground on the stud and re-tighten that 10 millimeter nut. And now we can reinstall everything in the reverse order. And don't forget to plug this light back in. Now we're gonna take that plug at the bottom. We can plug it on by pressing it forward and then making sure to secure it with that gray clip, just like that. And then we have one more ground wire. Now I found the easiest location to go to is right here on the exhaust hanger stud. Be mindful, you will have to hold the exhaust as you're releasing this. So you can pull down this 13 mil and then you can place the ground wire on, just like that. And you can hear it activate and then reinstall this 13 mil. And with that, the install is done. Now, as you can see, we completely transformed my Mini Cooper, not only the way it looks with these amazing tips, but also how good it sounds. If you're looking for this exhaust or other mini mods, check us out at kies.com. Thanks for watching this video and we'll see you next time.